First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Bahashim Rokakwadash. Yahweh is to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashim means in the name, Rokah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. Also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And today's video, I wanted to go into how health, is one of the most important things you have to focus on, right? Focus on your health. That's what I'm going to title the video. And, this seems to be the spirit floating around. Apostle Gabar made a video. The brother at GMS Overdrive made a video. The brother at GMS Casey Prophets made a video. And it's been on my spirit heavy, recently going into how, or for a while going into how, health, the way your flesh, your body feels is massive. Because here it is, you feel like shit, you're not going to feel like doing anything, right? If you feel like shit, you're not going to feel like doing anything. So that connects directly, with doing this work. So there's a lot of things I can go into, but first let's start with Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 and verse 14. It says, "Better is the poor being sound and of strong of constitution than a rich man that is afflicted in his body." Right? And the reason it says that is because here it is, you could have all these riches, but if you sit in a wheelchair, if you 300 pounds, you can't even move around, then what good does all that wealth do for you? Right? You can't even enjoy it. So, better to be poor, sound, strong of constitution, which that word constitution, let's see what it means. The composition of something, a person's physical state with regard to vitality, health, and strength. Health, physique, right? So if you got a strong health, right, you're sound, you're on point, but you're poor, you're better than the rich man that's in a wheelchair. It says, "Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth." Right? So this is the scriptures telling us how a health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. So being physically fit, right? Being able to go on runs, being able to lift up heavy weight. These are all things that are essential, for your daily life. If you can't go to the gym and walk 5 miles, if you can't walk 5 miles, right, you got to put some work in. There's no excuse to be obese nowadays, to not be putting in the work, because the information is out there, and is readily accessible. And Paul said that, bodily exercise profited little, but it still profits. And a couple things that you could do from the jump, eliminate seed oils, right? So no vegetable oils, no palm oil, canola oil, rapeseed oil, right? All these things are terrible. And the reason they are terrible that a lot of people don't talk about is because they are high in PUFAs, which is polyunsaturated fatty acids, right? So foods high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. And the reason why PUFAs are not good is because PUFAs are inflammatory, right? When your body breaks down this type of fat, it is more inflammatory than your saturated fats. Okay, let's see. Why PUFA bad? Some PUFAs, such as linoleic acid, can promote inflammation when consumed in excess. Right? PUFAs are more susceptible to oxidation than other fats, which can produce harmful free radicals that damage cells. Right? That's what I was talking about. How they're more susceptible to oxidation, which means they're more harmful. Right? So let's go to this article right here. High in PUFAs, they're cost effective, and let's see. The high omega 6 content are right here. So the main problem with PUFAs is that they are highly unstable. You see, all fats have a temperature at which they can start to go bad, and for PUFAs, that temperature is very low. That's why we say that unsaturated fats are unstable while saturated fats are stable. When these unstable fats start to go bad, they can form free radicals. These free radicals can cause damage to your body's cells, leading to various health issues. For example, they can damage your organs and glands internally, and on the outside, they can make your skin age faster, right? And that's why, if you go and eat, all this McDonald's, all these fast food joints, you eat at restaurants, hey, you see the people that eat those types of foods daily, and they look like shit because they are literally inflamed from the inside out. You can be doing all the exercise you want, but if your diet is terrible, the exercise is not going to be able to outwork that. Okay? A diet is a massive, massive component to health. And the first thing you could do is cut out those seed oils because they're high in PUFAs. Second thing you could do, easy, right? People always talk about how, oh, I want to lose weight and I can't seem to lose fat. One of the reasons why a lot of people can't lose fat is because their carb intake is so high. And let me explain that. People, they have demonized carbohydrates because, oh, sugar is bad, but little do you know, your body needs sugar. Your thyroid needs carbohydrates in order to perform properly. If you don't eat enough carbohydrates in the day, more than 50 grams, your metabolism literally slows down because your body is looking at what's going on and is saying, hold up, we ain't getting energy. Something's wrong, so let me lower the metabolism, just in case, we're in starvation. So you want to be eating enough carbs. At least, try to aim for 150 grams, and that's to keep your metabolism on check. Now, what happens is that people nowadays, they be eating their cereals, they be eating, drinking their sodas that got like 50 grams of sugar, and they be eating damn near 400 grams of carbs a day. Easy. 300 grams of carbs. And all that energy, is ultimately, if you don't use the energy, it's going to be stored as fat. That's what the extra calories are. But enough of the. I'm getting detailed with this because it's important, but let's get to the point. People want to know how to lose fat. You want to know how to lose fat? It's this simple. So, you want to eat enough carbs, but not too much. Right? Eat 150 grams of carbs around your workouts to fuel you. And ultimately, what's going to happen is that you're going to eat enough carbs, to get through your workouts, but not to fill your glycogen stores. So, in your muscle, you have glycogen stores, which ultimately, I gotta hit the chat GPT on this because we get a little too complicated. I'm gonna leave some people in the dust if I don't break this down simple. Explain how sugar carbs turn into glycogen and how if you eat lower carb glycogen stores. Okay. Right. So carbs equals break into glucose stored as glycogen in muscle and liver. Less carbs eaten, less glycogen stored. When glycogen is lower, body uses more fat for energy instead. Right? Since you don't got, the glycogen from the carbs, the glycogen is lower, depleted, your body can actually use your fat for energy. Right? So, it's that simple. And like I said, it's a balance. You don't want to crash your carbs or else your metabolism tanks, right? But you don't want to eat too much. You want to be right in the key zone. So that's essentially fat loss in a nutshell. You want to be, if you want a one thing about fats, people misunderstand fats. Oh, I don't want to eat butter because I'm gonna get fat. I don't want to have this olive oil because I'm gonna get fat. Fat's gonna make you fat. Well, it's actually not true. Okay, if you don't get enough fats in your body a day, fats a day in your body, or however you say that, your hormones are gonna tank because your body, for men, in order to produce testosterone, you need cholesterol. Yeah, you need cholesterol. You need saturated fats. Cholesterol is the building block of testosterone. And the same thing for women, right? You need cholesterol, you need saturated fats to build those hormones, right? Instead of testosterone, for women it's pregnenolone or estrogen, right? And the building block all goes back to fats. Okay, so you want to be eating around 60 grams of fats every single day to make sure hormones on point. And the best thing you could do is eat it at the end of the day, right? So before you go to sleep, eat some eggs, eggs with butter, calculate how much you're getting in. And the reason why is because when you're sleeping, that's when your body is essentially producing your hormones for the next day, right? Your body is repairing. So, hey, if the body's going to repair at night, give it the fuel it needs right before it does it. And you're going to feel how the next day you literally wake up a different person. So, let's get the scripture in Ecclesiasticus chapter 38 and verse 4. It says, "The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them." Right? And this is a whole different topic. I could go on forever, but the medicines is talking about plants, right? The Most High has a plant out there for every single thing that you can possibly think. Every single disease, every single problem. There is a plant to fix that, right? Those are the true medicines. Not what Esau Edom has pushed out that, this Franken lab fucking juice concoctions they be doing, pills, all that fucking witchcraft. That's not true medicine because it doesn't heal you. They tell you, oh yeah, it's gonna take away the pain, but it's gonna give you all these other side effects, right? So it's really poison. But plants are the original medicines. And one thing that I've been, one plant that is very, um, that I would recommend is, give me a second. Okay, one plant that I recommend, maca root. Maca root is good. There's different type of maca roots. You got your yellow maca root, which that's gonna deal with, lifting up your hormonal, or your energy. The red maca is good for fertility. If you're a woman and you got problems down there, you got problems with getting pregnant, red maca has actually been shown to help with that. I remember listening to a research point going into how there's all these anecdotal reports about women that couldn't get pregnant, and here it is, they started taking red maca consistently for a couple months, a couple weeks, and all of a sudden they got pregnant, right? So red maca is good for that. Also, ginseng, American ginseng, good for calm energy. You got the Panax ginseng, which is more for the upbeat, killer energy. You got Mucuna pruriens, which is that something I'm experimenting with right now, which ultimately Mucuna um, is essentially like a dopamine plant, right? So that's something that the Most High, hey, it's crazy how He's made it, literally for everything. And let me show you that Mucuna pruriens, a velvet bean. This is what it is, and Mucuna essentially is natural dopamine. So this plant here has the precursor for dopamine, and essentially what it does is it boosts the dopamine in your system, right? It's like an external dopamine. Now the reason why this is good is because we live in a society where a everything is essentially taking your dopamine, everything. And this right here can essentially, give you that boost to get you back on point. Now, like I said, when it comes to medicine, medicine is a temporal thing, and you can't abuse these plants because you find that if you start abusing certain of these plants, right, it actually does the opposite effect, right? For example, here it is. You think taking, you know, they become in like capsules. You think, the serving size is 2, and you take 10, and you think you're gonna get all jacked up and hyper and ready to go, motivated, but it'll actually make you sleepy. Okay, so this is something you can look into, and yeah, I could go on and on. So I'm gonna keep it short. One thing I do want to talk about is magnesium. So I searched up, give me a percentage of people in America low on magnesium, and it came out saying that 48% of Americans across all age groups consume less magnesium from food and beverages than their respective estimated average requirements. And that is so significant because let's ask it, how important is magnesium in body? Magnesium is one of the most important minerals in your body. Functions of magnesium: energy production, muscle function, nervous system, right? Relaxes you, heart health, bone health, blood sugar and metabolism, hormones, mood, right? So, magnesium is one of the most important minerals, and 50%, probably more than that, people in America don't even reach what they need. And the reason is because the food is stripped of all these minerals. Okay, it's difficult to get these minerals from, your natural American diet. So what you have to do is supplement. And I remember hearing an argument going into how, what's the point of supplementing? You shouldn't supplement because nature's got everything you need. But the problem with that is that we're not dealing with the same conditions that our forefathers dealt with. Our forefathers, they had clean water. They had untainted meat. They had untainted vegetables. Everything was untainted, so you can actually get the minerals and the nutrients from it. But today, here it is, they'll sell you a piece of meat, but it's all filled with GMOs. They'll sell you a piece of plant that has glyphosate in it, right? A gut disruptor, endocrine disruptor, right? So everything is poison, and that's why we have to supplement just to get to that baseline level. So you can look into magnesium, and magnesium, there's different kinds, but essentially the one you would want to be getting is magnesium biglycinate, right? This is essentially one of the most bioavailable ones, which means that your body absorbs it right, because there's another form called magnesium oxide, which your body barely even absorbs this type. Like it's you're literally it's terrible. Don't buy this type. This is terrible. Magnesium magnesium glycinate, and make sure it's not in this brand because this brand, the coating is gelatin, so it's pork. Sometimes it is a beef. You have to go on the website and check. You have to search it up. But majority of times when it's gelatin, they make it out of pork. So, supplement that magnesium because it's big. You're not getting it out of your natural diet, and that might be why you're so anxious, so on your toes, can't relax. You're missing magnesium. Doesn't let your muscles contract and relax. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. I'm going on 20 minutes of just speaking that knowledge, but with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rokakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.